If you feel like your manifestation just isn't quite landing in your reality the way you want it to, and it feels like things have got stuck, it's because you're still holding on to the same mental story that you have been in the past. And there's a specific reason why things are not conforming the way you want them to be. So I'm going to delve into this entire topic, help you guys maybe realize, are you actually stuck? What should you be doing? So that's going to be the topic of today's video. Welcome back to today's video. I'm Alexa, a manifestation coach. We are delving into how automatic thoughts, your mind being on autopilot, consistent mental reactions that will just come up. These are the things that could be delaying your manifestation. So things to be aware of, keep in mind, continue to engage with and learn more about. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So do stay tuned. I have multiple sections as I've been structuring my videos lately, so you guys will get to see all the different elements that encompass this concept. And please do thumbs up, subscribe, turn on the notification bell if you have not yet. Obviously you haven't thumbs up yet, but if you do enjoy that, please also do so. And yeah, quite a few of you guys watching are either new viewers or you just haven't subscribed yet. So I'd very much appreciate if you just click that subscribe button. It's not going to impact you in any way other than positively. And yeah, everything else will be popped on screen now, so you guys can take a look. If you want to get some extra support or coaching with me, everything is available in the description box or right below the screen. There was just a recent SP challenge that I did that's exclusive to members. So take a look, because last month's was a huge success. I really was pleased with how that turned out, and you guys seem to really enjoy it as well. So yeah, take a look if you're interested, and now let's start. Your reality is simply going to mirror back to you what you focus on, what you affirm. It's not going to be about the occasional thought or, in this case as well, the occasional concern or, negative thought or question. You see something perhaps random and then it makes you think of something negative that connects to your manifestation. That doesn't suddenly mean that it's going to manifest that way, or that, one concern is going to ruin everything, or maybe one bad moment. So it comes down to, what are you consistently telling yourself and focusing on? And even just thinking, you might not even realize it, but those thoughts that you have throughout the day, which by the way, total at least 70,000 or so, which is a lot. And, if you put that into perspective of how many affirmations we might be doing, or whatever method of repetition you might be practicing, it's a really small fraction. So just trying to be aware and recognizing that it's the consistent thoughts that you have, the consistent assumptions, that's what shapes and builds up your reality. So if you want to add in that final kind of missing piece to the puzzle, that's positive, that's your end result, and it contains the answer to, what you're manifesting, and it's the one piece missing in the center of your puzzle, then you want to be really treating it and thinking of it as, okay, that's my consistent thoughts. Those are the things that I affirm, and the way my reality and that final, whole picture for the finished puzzle, it's going to be perfect and all put together, and that final piece is going to fit in perfectly and seamlessly when I make sure that I'm being consistent. So essentially, if your inner dialogue, which is literally your thoughts, and the inner conversations as well, but it all comes down to the actual things that you think. If that's not consistent, that's not aligned with what you want, then your external reality can't conform. Your external, physical world is not going to shift to bring in what you want, because your internal conforming hasn't taken place yet. It has to be consistent, and that's not the same as perfect, right? So those are kind of mutually exclusive, and being perfect has nothing to do with manifesting. It's just the dominant, consistent mental state. Realizing your limiting thoughts is the first step. So even though I just generalized and kind of gave an overview of the concept, which is that repetition and consistency, and the repetition of how you think to yourself and internally what's going on a consistent basis. But the first step to actually understanding, okay, how do I undo the negatives? How do I speed things up? How do I make things conform for my manifestation? Is realizing those limiting thoughts. That's not the, be all end all where, okay, I understand, how this works. You have to be able to put it into consistent practice. So just to the best of your ability, building it up day by day, teaching your mind, your body, just in your lifestyle, this is how my new mindset is. This is how my new routine goes. Regardless of what other people say or what I see on social media or in the media itself, right? Doesn't matter. I'm just going to persist with this, being positive, thinking from the end result. And the law of assumption really does take over when those new assumptions, those new beliefs start to take shape. It doesn't have to be 100% because you can still technically have a little bit of doubt or not, not full belief, of course, because you're not going to be delusional where you're like living in a daydream of thinking, yeah, I've got my wedding and engagement ring on my hand and, SP's already here. And, the only reason I can't see them in the room right now is because, they went out to go buy me flowers. Like, I'm not saying to that level of delusion. So you're not going to technically 100% believe it regardless. So when it comes in, it can still be that you have a little bit of doubt or you weren't quite expecting it to show up yet. That is usually the case. People are taken aback, also because it feels like such a dream. Like you never truly understand, wow, I'm actually going to have this. It doesn't sink in till it happens. So you don't need to fully believe it. But when the dominant assumption takes place, that is when the law of assumption is fully physically working in your reality and giving you the physical end result. So it needs to become, a dominant state, a dominant belief where you're not still wavering back and forth to the old story. A good phrase and kind of term that you can use is it's a focus on repetition, not reaction. So try and get into the habit of, not reacting to the 3D, not reacting to whatever thoughts or beliefs you think you want to hold on to or that you think are factual or still present in your reality. It doesn't matter. Repeating that, as you know, is not going to bring you the result you want. You can't focus and complain on negative things and then expect to receive positive results. So repetition, not reaction. So try and make that a little mantra and say, this is how I'm going to create the positive news story in my reality, by applying repetition, getting that consistency going, and not reacting. So how is this actually done? Like I said, the first step, being aware. So awareness of the autopilot thoughts, because I know the topic and this video title is going to have something to do with, the autopilot, just thoughts that you generally have. So yeah, those autopilot, so knee-jerk reactions, kind of instantly feeling triggered, whatever your mental reaction is, like an emotional reaction, that state that you get into when you see something you don't like. Obviously, if it's positive, we're not trying to change that. That's all good. This is in relation to the negative. So being aware, okay, I get triggered by this. You understand your own thought patterns. You have the self-awareness, which is something I've been talking about a lot lately, to recognize and understand, okay, this is where I'm getting triggered. When people talk about this, my insecurity flares up a bit, and I start to maybe apply logic and get concerned here. And you just build your awareness, you understand, and when you can see what the issue actually is, you know what to resolve, right? You've gotten to the root of the issue. So the awareness of your autopilot reactions, then, okay, to apply your mental diet, flip it back around. And then also it literally shifts the neural pathways in your body. Like I've said before, disclaimer, I'm not going to delve super deep into the physical and psychological aspects that tie into the quantum realm and quantum physics and how, your automated bodily reactions work. I do need to work a little more on that before I can talk to you guys fully, because I don't want to miscommunicate anything. However, your neural pathways do genuinely shift. Through repetition, through building up a habit, you change the way your body reacts, the same way you change your mindset and your thoughts. Everything is tied together. The body and the mind work in tandem, right? So you're changing the neural pathways when you start to shift, okay, these are not the thought patterns I'm going to hold on to anymore. I'm not going to think negatively. I'm not going to start to panic and get into a spiraling state when I see this, or this shows up on social media, or this thought comes to mind, this memory comes to mind. It doesn't matter if it genuinely happened or if you're just feeling triggered. It's still irrelevant. It's still something to not place your attention to. So understanding that, not going to put my attention here. This is where I feel triggered. And this was, you could just keep telling yourself, that was the last time I react that way. I'm changing now. I'm shifting. I'm creating and building a permanent positive mindset. Just keep reinforcing and uplifting yourself, and then going back to that new story. It's about immediately overriding that negative thought, that negative assumption. Even if it comes up in different wording, it probably all still ties into one negative root, and overriding that with the new assumption, the new belief, whether it's a relationship with your SP, more money, losing weight, whatever it is. We all have our own individual goals. You're creating that new assumption and doing it consistently. So that's a tick for the practice, and then a tick for how you apply that practice. Consistently. And of course, all of this should be tied in with not checking the 3D, not trying to gain validation or proof from your 3D reality, so not checking up on things. And that takes practice. It's okay. You're not going to get it perfectly. The first time probably you're going to get this urge or maybe a sense of anxiety or this unease, a sense of unease, I think is the correct word, where you're just, feeling uneasy and you're like, oh, I want to check, I need to know. It's like this almost lack of knowledge in your 3D reality, but you get used to it, you build up practice and you build up confidence. Your assumptions, the new ones that you're creating, have a magnetic effect. Even if you don't feel the emotion yet, like I said, it builds up. It might take a couple hours or a couple days, whatever it is, it builds up when you really apply it consistently. So it has a magnetic effect where those new assumptions are the ones that are taking shape and being built moment by moment. They're building up higher and higher, stronger and stronger. And it does take time. It takes practice. And you don't need to feel the emotion. You don't need to feel them to be completely true. So even if there's no emotional attachment to them yet, the assumptions are being built up in your mind. So remember that when that internal script shifts, internal shift happens, whatever, the external shift follows. So it always starts from internally, from within your mind, the way you think, the actions that you choose to take, even just in terms of your own inner conversations and the practice of visualizing, not literal, physical actions necessarily, but the actions you take with your mindset, with the way that you choose to think. So it all starts from there, and that is when the external is going to start to shift and follow on from that. So your 3D reality really is going to follow that pattern, and it can be a bit of a delay. It can take time to reflect, but it will reflect. So if you're stuck in that same loop and you feel like it's like this cycle, which often does happen, it can get frustrating and then you get stuck in that and it's hard to pull yourself out of that with motivation. But tell yourself again, stop reacting, start repeating, apply repetition and consistency, and then your 3D reality will have to follow that positive pattern. So I'm going to leave this video here. I hope that was useful for you guys and you enjoyed it. If you did, please do thumbs up, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and I'll see you next time.